Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Let me begin the discussion on infrastructure and the size of the market. Till now we have seen that how infrastructure helps in developing the economy, and this is one of the major boost for the economic growth process in any economy. Today we are going to discuss in brief the meaning and size of the market, and what is basically size of the market means when it is related to the developing and least developed countries. We'll discuss the theoretical microeconomic tools to understand how size of the market works. At the same time, we'll also try to have some discussion on macroeconomic tools to understand the size of the market. Some growth models will be discussed. And after that, uh, before summing up the lecture, we will also try to find out what are the main features of the developed countries and how these features are linked with the size of the markets. Let me begin with a discussion on the general meaning of the market. In economics, market is not a place, but it's an arrangement where buyers and sellers are interacting to find out the prices and quantities of goods and services. So it's a situation where uh, we have the quantity demanded and we have the quantity supplied. So what are basically the component of the market when we say existence of the quantity demanded and supply? So in that case, we have to have the existence of demand and the presence of supply. At the same time, institutional framework such as the government policies and the legal framework, infrastructure for functioning, availability of information on prices and cost, and the ease of entry and exit in the market, and at the same time, reliability of contract enforcements. So size of the market depends on what type of government policies are existing in terms of tax. Suppose a government provides a tax holiday situation, then in that case, majority of the investors will try to join the market as an investor. Suppose if the legal framework is clear, if the contract rules are clear for the investor, in that case, investor will certainly have a freedom to choose the market. They will have the more flexible options to decide uh, what they have to produce and how they have to produce because rules are clear. But if the rules are not clear, legal framework is not certain, in that case investors will really have some constraint in their investment and they will not try to join the market. Uh, if the availability of information on prices of raw materials, the cost of labor and other things are clear in the market, in that case market really works properly. We have seen in our previous discussion that how market fails and how rent-seeking behaviors and other important issues are also uh, influencing the size of the market and the existence of the market. In our few lectures, we have seen that how some of the factors really leads a very monopolistic conditions in the market, and that is not really providing a competitive price for the consumer. When it comes to the infrastructure development, we have different argument that these infrastructure services and facilities should be provided on a price, and that price should be the price which will be affordable to the majority of the people in the developing country. When we say size of the market is just reflecting in terms of the number of buyers and sellers. If we are adding more number of consumers and more number of suppliers, it means that our size of the market is expanding from the previous stage. So there has been shift from the traditional view of the size of the market, which was limited by the national boundaries. Today, when we are more globalized and more integrated uh, uh, in the world, we are not considering the size of the market, which is just related uh, to the country. but we are really considering the size of the market, which is more bigger because uh, we are considering entire globe as the market today. So the size of the market is now linked to the growth and trade openness. After 1991, as we have seen that we are more open economy today. Majority of the developing countries are not restricted economy, and in that case, we have large number of large number of products transmitting from one economy to other economy. Services are crossing the boundaries. Information technology enabled services are one of the example from India, which has attracted many country for offshore today. And this shows that how in certain sectors we have a growing size of the market. So the productivity is affected by the size of the market, and this is happening when if you are adding more consumer, your productivity, a firm's productivity, a country's productivity will certainly have expansion. If you are shrinking in terms of size of the market, the productivity has the negative impact because you are losing your consumer. So size of the market do influence the productivity, and productivity when you have reducing cost uh, of the production, it cannot happen when you are not adding the large number of consumer in the market. So what are basically the indicators, if one can say that, what are the indicators of expansion in the size of the market? So one can say that GDP per capita, or GDP as a whole, or the growth of GDP, gross fixed capital formation, savings and investments, and household consumptions. That is also some of the indicators to find out the size of the market. At the same time, we can also see the quality of infrastructure, global connectivity, and infrastructure stock to GDP ratio as an indicator to find out how infrastructure is really added as a part of the expansion in the economy. And if quality of the infrastructure, global connectivity, and total infrastructure stock to GDP ratio is increasing, that is also one of the indicator to say that infrastructure has enhanced compared to the uh, uh, previous level of availability of the infrastructure, and that shows that it has the chance to expand the size of the market. So if we can find out the size of the market, the discussion on size of the market in the traditional literature in economics, in 1776, Adam Smith stated that the division of labor is limited by the extent of the market, and the size of the market leads to an increase in the division of labor, and it contributes to an increase in the firm's productivity. So productivity is affected by the size of the market because huge markets allow firms to exploit economies of scale. So uh, if the size of the market is limited to a particular town or limited to a particular city, if it is not added more consumers outside the city, outside the town, in that case productivity is going to be affected. So infrastructure stocks basically renders increasing returns to a scale, and the quality of infrastructure and ease of global connectivity has become an important factor in determining the size of the market today. So infrastructure and size of the market, the adequate infrastructure is vital for assuring the functionings of the economy, because infrastructure decides the location of economic activity by limiting the area over which factors of productions are mobile, and eventually it also determines the size of the market. So quality infrastructure uh, really reduces the cost through integrating and connecting the national market to other markets, to other economies and the regions of the world. An effective transport infrastructure helps in getting goods and services to the market in a secure and timely manner, and it facilitates the mobility of the workers. Transport and communications infrastructure networks are prerequisites for enlarging the size of the market, since they provide valuable information for the decision maker in terms of business and increasing economic efficiency. So, uh, in macroeconomic theory, we can see here that in terms of production function and isoproduct curve, a firm produces a particular good using combination of inputs such as capital and labor. Q is the function of K and L, where the K is capital and L is the labor. So if it is isoproduct curve Q0, which is again the function of capital and labor, and in this figure one can see here that on a particular curve such as Q0, the two different points are shown here, and that shows the two different level of combination between the capital and labor. On point A, we are showing here the K2 and L1 level of combination of capital and labor, while on point B we are seeing K1 and L2 level of capital and labor combinations, and it shows that the total product or output remains constant because isoproduct curves are the curves where on a particular curve, any point on a particular curve shows the equal level of productivity. But when we move from the lower level of lower level of isoproduct product curve to the higher level of isoproduct curve, we have the increasing productivity in the market. This is at the firm's level, but even if this can be shown at the country's level isoproduct curve, this can be also shown at the national level or the entire economic level, because if we are enhancing from Q0 to Q1 or Q1 to Q2 in this particular diagram, we are finding that economy has moved from, or the firm has moved from the previous level of productivity to the new level of productivity. More we are going on the right hand side, more we are having the productivity added, and certainly the higher iso product curve shows us a high level of combination between the capital and labor, which produces the higher level of product in the market. So this also establishes the expansion in the size of the market, because a productivity enhancement in the productivity is not possible. A producer cannot afford to go on the higher productivity level if the productivity is not really beneficial for them. So another tool is the returns to scale, where we can also see that returns to scale of the production function determine how long run output varies from the varying all the factors of production or the inputs. So there are three types of returns to scale: increasing, decreasing, and constant. When we are saying increasing, it means that the capital and labor, uh, uh, the price of the capital and labor. In table 1, it is shown here that if all the inputs capital and labor are multiplied by a positive constant P, where P is greater than 1, the output varies differently. So if after multiplying with P, if the output is uh, equal to the previous level of capital and labor, uh, uh, the product by the capital and labor. So in that case, we are having the constant returns. But when we are having uh, uh, compared to the previous level of capital and labor product, if it has increased productivity, in that case we are having more increasing returns, because whatever inputs we are putting for the for the capital and labor, we are having more output coming out from the capital and output from the capital and labor. In case if the returns are not increasing, not constant, it will finally have the decreasing trend, and that is the three different level of returns to scale, which again gives us the idea, especially at the firms level, that where one has to continue in the production or one has to leave the production. If there are decreasing returns to scale, the producer will not try to continue in the market, because the productivity has declined from the input level, from the level of the input. So in such cases, one cannot continue in the market because the returns to scale will be decreasing. So some other macroeconomic issues and the size of the market are like many countries has adopted different models to expand their size of the market. United Kingdom had the unilateral trade liberalization, restricted imports for many other countries, but enhancing exports for for only for the United Kingdom, and this continued for many years. US and Germany in 19th century adopted the protectionism to promote industry. Japan from 1950s to 1960 has also contributed the protectionism. South Korea 1960s to 70s continued with the protectionism. Southeast Asian economies has also developed uh, their economy with protectionism and strategic trade policies. And China and India also adopted the selective protection and control over FDI. So one major indicator is the trade openness. Uh, More we are having the trade openness, more we can have the addition in the size of the market. So foreign trade to gross domestic product ratio is generally known as the trade openness. It is the ratio of sum of exports and imports to the gross domestic products, and for this the formula will be trade openness is equal to export plus import divided by GDP multiplied by 100. It is a measure of country's integration in the world economy. So the evidence for trade liberalization boosted growth, which has remained mixed. High performing Asian economies uh, uh, policy reforms were followed by a large increase in the openness. This proved that it is possible to develop through export-oriented growth. However, such high growths were invisible in Latin American economies such as Mexico and Brazil. So the trade openness is important, but economies needs other supporting factors like quality infrastructure and policy framework to accelerate it, to expedite the high growth process. So if one can have the look on the trade openness of selected countries, uh, the index for India was 18.79 in 2000, which has reached to the new level of 41.46 in 2012, while in China 37.11 was in 2000, which has reached to 48.36%. While one can see here the Germany, which was 53.2 in 2000, now it has 75.18, while the Thailand 101.77 percentage has it has now gone to 130.47%, while the Hong Kong 449% and Singapore 358%. So compared to Singapore, Hong Kong, Thailand, even the Germany, India and China is still, and Brazil is not really as trade open as these smaller economies, especially in terms of the size of the consumers. So this shows that still certain protectionism is going on, and this is the data from the World Trade Organization, and this establishes the fact that some of the economies are really more trade open, and they are really added uh, uh, their consumers outside their domestic economy due to their export promotion mechanism, export promotion model, and that is their strategy to have the expansion of the size of the market. Some of the growth models, if we can see here, one of the very traditional growth model is the Herod-Domer growth model. This growth model is formulated by Herod and Domer in 1940s and widely used in the planning in developing countries. It is one of the model of the closed economy. So the equation of this model is delta y by y is equal to a small s by k, where the delta y by y is the rate of growth of GNP, while the s is the saving ratio and k is the capital output ratio. So saving is necessary for the investment. That is basically uh, the model explains the mechanism by which investment leads to the growth. Investment in industry, investment in infrastructure, or investment in agriculture, especially investment uh, in the entire growth process matters. That is really the outcome of this model. So for instance, if capital output ratio K is 4 and saving ratio is 8% of GNP, the growth rate delta y by y will be equal to S by K, 8 by 4, that is 2%. So what are basically the implications of Herod-Domer model? So savings are necessary for every economy, even to sustain the existing capital stocks. But to grow at a faster rate, investment in new capital stocks such as buildings, ports, railways, waterways, telecom, etc. are fundamental. So the trick of the growth is thus the national savings and investments in the capital stocks. So there are constant to the growth. GNP growth is not linearly related to the share of investment expenditure in the GNP. Low saving rate in developing countries gives rise to the saving gap. Saving and investment is a necessary condition but not a sufficient condition for economic growth. And there are leakages and injections in the economy. Another model is the Naqshi model, where he has again argued for the balanced growth theory. Uh, the theory suggests that there is a need for large investment in all sectors simultaneously to achieve economic growth and development. This will certainly expand the size of the market and increase the productivity and will incentivize the private investments. It also stresses on the balance between the social and economic overheads and between direct productive investment and external economies. So, balance is required between the demand and supply in the economy. Emphasis is on the simultaneous development of intermediate goods, power, irrigation, transport, etc., and all other industries, including consumer and capital goods. More or less synchronized application of capital to a wide range of different industries are important for this particular balance in the economic growth process. So if one can see here the vicious circle of the underdevelopment, the low productivity really generates low level of income. Low level of income again uh, provides a condition of low savings. That low saving leads to the low investment, and low investment uh, again makes us the situation of capital deficiency, and we are trapped. Basically, many least developed countries and developing countries are trapped in the low productivity vicious circle of low productivity, and that is really the vicious circle of underdevelopment. So this Naqshi model focuses on how a small size of the market in underdeveloped countries creates a vicious circle of underdevelopment, and the size of the market can be enlarged through the large investment in different sectors of the economy and expanding of the economic infrastructure. So uh, the deadlock in the development cannot be addressed if the investment is not really coming to different part of the economy, such as the small industry, large industry, and outside the agriculture sector. So the size of the market will expand and the economy will develop if the productivity levels rise in an underdeveloped economy. And this productivity rise in the productivity level is not automatic, but it is dependent on how much investment and what type of investment is received in which sector. So when it happens, then the returns to scale starts coming to the economy, and this automatically leads to the expansion in the size of the market. One more model is the Rosenstein-Roden model, where uh, this model underlines that underdeveloped economy requires a large amount of investment. The major argument of the Roden model is the contention of the social marginal product of an investment and the private marginal products. Private individuals stresses on the private marginal product of their investment and neglects the social marginal products, and that is true in case of varieties of externalities, especially the negative externalities is happening because private marginal product are more important for the investors and they really avoid the social marginal product. So Rosenstein-Roden model is basically an investment model and sets the conditions of takeoff, and this has emphasized on the multiplier effect of investment. The individualistic, the individualities and the external economies from minimum amount of investments are required for achieving economic development, and three major indivisibility of the production function is the supply of social overhead, invisibility of demand, and the indivisibility in the supply of savings. So high initial investments in social overhead capital is needed for the growth, and high investment will enlarge the markets and lead to the growth and development. Rosenstein-Roden model and the size of the market is again summarized in a way that investment in one sector increases the demand for other sectors, and uh, it directly uh, uh, the investment in one sector increases the demand for other sector directly, and so makes larger scale production in other sectors more attractive. It is important to have the ongoing investment, and the complementarities between the simultaneous different sectors, which is the rationale for large scale planned industrialization, gets magnified through the size of the market. So high priority is given to the infrastructural development and industry, uh, and this cannot uh, happens. This is not possible without the large pool of investment added in the production sector, also in the infrastructure sector. So important way to achieve growth and enlarge the size of the market is to build infrastructure such as railroads or public utilities. And infrastructure facilities bear the fixed cost of industrial plants and creates an environment that will be profitable for all the firms. This will result in more investments in the industrial sector. There are some certain features of the developed countries, such as the high growth rates of output per capita, rapid increase in the total factor productivity, structural transformations, social and ideological transformations, search for markets and raw materials, and limited benefits of economic growth. High growth of output and increase in total factor productivity merits the huge markets for their products, and this requires the structural transformation of their economy. It is possible by investments in capital stocks such as roads, ports, railways, communication networks, utilities, etc. Market expansion through the exploring new areas and economic integration. And many developing and less developed countries are following uh, such steps which were taken by the developed countries in past. And this is not possible without the linking infrastructure with the economic growth and development. To sum up, economic decisions are limited by the size of the market, which in turn is decided by the stock of the infrastructure. So we have also seen in case of newly industrialized countries, the growth model of the newly industrialized countries, that how size of the market was really uh, uh, size of the market has really played an important role in terms of uh, more GDP, more GDP per capita, and in terms of consumption indicators. And these large investments are required in the social overhead capital. We have also seen that these countries have not only developed their physical infrastructure but also the social infrastructure. So both uh, investment in both the side, physical as well as the social infrastructure side, really enlarge the size of the market, and that accelerated that really speed up the process of economic growth and development. So the quality infrastructure increases the size of the market and attract investment for industrial development. That is really uh, the one line conclusion of this particular lecture. And uh, a country cannot really come up, a country cannot really grow faster, cannot really have more income generation and the productivity growth without having the expansion in the size of the market. And the expansion of the size of the market cannot happen. It cannot be possible without having the quality infrastructure added. And this quality infrastructure includes the physical as well as the social infrastructure. Thank you.